everybody, how's it going? It's Space Cowboy here. Welcome back to the channel with another video for you guys here today. And I wanted to finish up talking about minicamp with a discussion on players the Cowboys should look at signing in the free agent pool. Because there's still some good free agents out there, and the Cowboys have a ton of cap space to make certain moves work. And as a disclaimer, I'm not saying the Cowboys have to make all of these moves. It's just suggestions given with what's been coming out of the mini camps and all that other stuff. Now, before we get fully into it, if you guys could help me continue to fight the YouTube algorithm by hitting the like button, super easy to do and it's greatly appreciated. That's great. As well as subscribing and hitting the notification bell if you are not so. About 88% of you guys watching are not subscribed still, so we're trying to hit 12,000 subscribers by the start of training camp, so let's see if we can hit that and go forward from there. Thank you guys so much for your support, and let's go ahead and dive straight into these names. So the first notable name that I know that's been talked about a lot in these circles is Dalton Risner, the former guard from the Denver Broncos. He has been on the free agent market for quite some time. I've tried to research why he's on the market. I didn't see any injury issues to my knowledge that I saw, and no personal things that are keeping teams away, but there are, I guess, a contractual thing where he's looking for a certain amount of money and teams don't want to give him that. I think the big thing is I'm not saying this dude has to start at left guard, because I think we're kind of getting the indication that the Cowboys are rolling with, you know, the left tackle being Tyron Smith and the left guard being Tyler Smith, which isn't a problem. But what I'm more so looking at is the long-term implications, because we know that Tyron Smith is most likely going to get hurt at some point. And I think adding Dalton Risner would be more of an insurance policy when it comes to that, because, you know, we hear about what they're doing at guard, you know, with, you know, Tyler kind of leading the way. You hear about Adoga, you hear about now Josh Ball trying out at the left guard spot alongside Matt Farniak. When I look at all those names, you know, I know that given their experience levels, I think Farniak has been given the most of a chance with the Cowboys. But if I'm being truthful, I think you can do better. I think that Risner would instantly upgrade that left guard spot. So if that injury happens, or when it happens, you're covered. He's not the greatest or the best of the best when it comes to left guard play, but he's definitely solid, above average at best from what grades have been indicating. You know, I'm not a big fan of PFF, but that's what they're grading him as. But, you know, even in conversations that I've had, you know, people have some high praises for Dalton Risner as a solid, like, NFL left guard, you know, like, for what you need. So that's a name I would want the Cowboys to go after. Another name to keep an eye out on, and what I would, you know, hope the Cowboys do, is Robbie Gould. You know, and I understand that Robbie Gould is older. He's 40. He doesn't have the same leg as maybe a Brett Maher or others that are younger than him. And it's really more so to build up that kicker competition, because the Cowboys want to bring someone in here to compete with Tristan Vizcaino. We're hearing good things about him of recent, and, you know, I hope that he does well. You know, you can't just sit there and be like, oh, you know, this dude's going to suck. You have to hope that he can get you something. But one of the biggest things that worries me about Robbie Gould, or rather Tristan Vizcaino as well, is that if there's no competition, we don't know what we truly have. You know, some people are saying even bring in Mason Crosby. Nah, I'm good on that. Robbie Gould's a guy where if I'm within the 40, I know I'm getting a field goal. That's what we've seen. And also he makes his extra points. I think another thing is, well, Brett Maher, I don't have a problem per se bringing him back for a competition. What worries me is the language that was used. Hey, we're starting over at the kicker position, but then to bring back Brett Maher would be hella awkward, to say the least. So I think the Cowboys have you know, established the fact they don't want to bring back Brett Maher, but it's a very dry market when it comes to who's out there with kickers. If the Cowboys really wanted to do this, I said this in previous videos, they should have done a better job with their due diligence and maybe went after Matt Gay or some other kickers that were out on the market, or even drafted a kicker, whatever you feel on that. It just feels like the Cowboys might be, you know, dooming themselves to repeat the same mistakes as last offseason, but luckily we got Brett Maher. So, again, I don't think they're in a rush, but I prefer they sign someone before training camp, and maybe that's just their thought process. So Robbie Gould's a name on there. Another name, and this isn't like starter level player, this is just for depth purposes, Dion Jones. He played with Dan Quinn, or for Dan Quinn, in Atlanta. I believe he played with Cleveland just recently. He's 28 years old. This is more of an insurance piece, right? Because the Cowboys have an unknown factor at their linebacking core. Because you have LVE, okay, you have Damone Clark, which we saw glimpses here and there. But after that, realistically, you look at that room, who else do you have? Jabril Cox, Devin Harper, throw a couple other names that I could be missing. It's not as deep as we think it is. And, you know, yeah, you could say, like, oh, Micah's a linebacker too, but, like, realistically, he's going to be more of an edge rusher from what we're hearing this year, even though he's saying he's going to be versatile. I don't know. I think the Cowboys should just basically, you know, maybe think about signing a linebacker in this, and right now he hasn't been signed. I had to just double check. You know, again, I'm not asking the dude to be a starter. I think Dion Jones would come in here, be a solid, you know, fill-in player, which is all I'm asking for. I'm just like, he doesn't have to be in the rotation. My main thing is that from what he put on film with the Browns, and when I was looking at what he did there, he was decent for what he was asked to do. He wasn't like a world beater, but again, I think that the Dallas Cowboys need to reassure their linebacking core, kind of what they did with Anthony Barr last year, but we kind of realized the weaknesses of Anthony Barr, but it was kind of more so he's there as a veteran presence, so maybe this is the same signing, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe we shouldn't sign Dion Jones. But again, I think this is more of an insurance piece, similar to the Dalton Risner signing. The final one, and I already talked about this guy, Dalvin Cook maybe, or some of the, you know, I know James Robinson and other names that are out there, like a certain running back. I think that that's another name. You know, I know Dalvin Cook's out there, and you might be saying, Space, why would you want to sign a running back? I think, again, it's that unknown factor. You know, I've already mentioned my thoughts. Like, I think you should be fine with Pollard, Vaughn, and, you know, you should be. But there's a difference between being fine and should be fine. And I think that's really another thing is, like, Ronald Jones is really the key factor in all this, because let's just look at it for what it is. The Dallas Cowboys running back room is comprised of Tony Pollard, Ronald Jones, Deuce Vaughn, Rico Dowdle, Malik Davis, and Hunter Lipke, if you want to count him in fullback, running back. So if we go for 4 running backs, if I'm going to just be honest with how I think the Cowboys might do this, Tony Pollard, maybe Ronald Jones, Malik Davis, maybe Hunter Lipke, and they put everyone else on the practice squad. Or Deuce Vaughn makes the roster, but, you know, Ronald Jones isn't there. So they might have a combination of how they want to do things. But I think, whether we like it or not, like, we don't know how Deuce Vaughn is going to look like in the NFL. I think he's going to do fine, but again, we don't know. We don't know how Ronald Jones is going to look. We don't know. We know about Malik Davis. We've seen it, so I think Malik Davis will make the roster. Rico Dowdle, he's been hurt. Hunter Lipke, you know, for all we know, maybe he just doesn't fit. Again, like, these are, you know, newer guys added to the team that we don't know, and it's not that I don't want these guys to succeed, because the caveat would be, well, Space, if we sign a running back, that's going to be a progress stopper. You said it yourself, and I agree. I just think that at the end of the day, if you got to look at it for what it is. Are we trying to go with the young crop of running backs, or could we just go with one guy to back up Pollard for 1 year? Again, I think that this could be something you figure out during preseason and training camp. You can figure out how these guys are performing, and if you feel scared that, hey, I just don't like what I see, right? Then you can sign somebody. I think that's the thing. Like, also, really for Pollard's sake, because Pollard suffered a big injury that could impact his play. We don't know how he's going to look when he comes back. And I understand, like, Spacey keeps saying you don't know. It's true. Like, we don't know how these guys are going to look until we see it on the field. And there hasn't been a whole lot of talk from the running back room. I know Deuce Vaughn, there's been some praise, but nothing from Ronald Jones or anybody else. So I don't really have much more to say other than I think the Cowboys should just keep an eye out to see how the running back market looks. And if they don't like what they see, you can go sign someone for cheap for a year. So that's just my thought process there. And that's really it. I haven't really seen any other position group where it's like you need to sign someone. you know, drastically. But that's pretty much it. I don't know what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. By all means, recommend names. Hey, like, you didn't talk about edge rusher, or you didn't talk about this position group. Maybe we should sign this guy. I'm really curious to hear on that, because I know that some people were, you know, before, you know, training camp, I heard some rumblings, or even before or after the draft, like, get a cornerback. But I think the Cowboys are fine there. So, with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on your way out. And just tell me down below what you think the Cowboys should do, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, guys, have a good one. Goodbye.